Special thank you to our sponsor, iGenX. iGenX isn't just a small business. It's a powerhouse ally ready to tackle your agency's toughest tech challenges head on. Specializing in low-code, no-code solutions, advanced analytics, and project management, iGenX is your go-to partner for both federal and commercial projects. But what sets iGenX apart? As a Salesforce Summit-level partner, the company brings unparalleled expertise across the entire Salesforce ecosystem. From MuleSoft and Einstein and Tableau, the expert teams at iGenX don't just build solutions, they engineer them, crafting robust data pipelines and creating stunning visualizations that drive real results. At iGenX, success isn't just a goal, it's a promise. The team is dedicated to delivering measurable benefits that transform your operations. Ready to partner with iGenX? Contact the team at info@igenx.com, spelled info@eigenx.com.
AI is nothing other than a technology that has been around for a long time, now being rebranded, now being sold because you have companies backed by ridiculous amounts of dollars from venture capitalists, from private equity organizations that are pushing this new avenue of generating wealth, of generating capital. Is there a space for this technology to help improve services, offerings, tools, products? Absolutely. As is the space for writing any kind of code by anyone or creating any kind of tool by anyone.
Welcome to Govcon Unfiltered, where your journey through the labyrinth of federal contracting begins. I'm Alexa Choi, your guide and host on this epic adventure. Here, we dive deep into the heart of government contracting, shedding light on the heroic tales of those who navigate its complex terrain. Our mission? To bring you closer to the action, revealing the critical steps, triumphant victories, and occasional pitfalls that our intrepid adventurers face. Your journey into the world of government contracting starts now, and we could not be happier to have you with us. Let's embark on this adventure together.
Thank you for joining GovCom Unfiltered. Today, our special guest is Eduardo Ortiz, and I'm going to have him introduce himself.
Hi, I am Eduardo Ortiz, the CEO of Coforma.
Thank you so much, Eduardo. And as I was explaining, before we started recording, you were on my list from Jump as somebody I was so excited to talk to. So I don't know why. I think I saw you speak at a Agile Government Leaders group, which became the Digital Services Coalition back in the day. We're talking like 10 years ago. I saw you speak at an event and I was like, wow, this guy is approaching it totally differently. Like, he's not even trying to do what other people are doing. He just was like, I'm doing it my way. And it was just so fresh and so different. And it's been years, since then, but I've always remembered you. And so I just thank you for the time today. And I'm looking forward to hearing your story.
That is very kind of you. I legitimately have no clue what I said at AGL. I do remember that it was in Sacramento, and I'm grateful to have been there, but I legitimately have no clue what I said while I was there. But I probably still believe it though.
Yeah, probably. I mean, yeah,
Yeah.
sure. So first of all, Eduardo, tell us about your journey. So all I know is there's like maybe the Dominican Republic, maybe New York, maybe the Bronx, maybe the Marine Corps, and now you're a government contractor CEO. So
Yeah. A lot to unpack there.
yeah.
So happy to go into details in whichever way you want me to. I grew up in a split household, raised between the Dominican Republic and New York City, specifically Washington Heights, which is an extension of the Dominican Republic. I went to school for engineering, focus on working on software that was powering actual hardware. And I did not like doing that work. And I started pivoting from there into application development, then found the web, move into back-end development from there, working into middleware, then front end, then found that I actually didn't need to write any code to still work in quote unquote the web or computers. So started moving into information architecture, then user experience design, then UX strategy, then product management, then strategy at large, and have had a ridiculous number of opportunities. And I have basically landed me here. At some point in there, I had basically checked off all the boxes. Being Hispanic or Latino, you do basically what your mom tells you to do. My mom had asked me to get a degree because both of my older sisters had gotten degrees. One was an architect. She passed away a couple of years ago. The other one is a doctor. And then there was me, the youngest, also the black sheep of the family. So I got her degree. And then it was like, okay, cool. I've done everything that I've wanted to do. What now? I was like, well, time to pay back. So I decided to enlist in the Marine Corps, and I served whether on active duty or reserve status between 2008 and 2016. In 2016, finally cut out to the inactive ready reserve and completed the rest of my service there, deployed a couple of times, and kind of like always came back to working in the technology space. And at some point, because of all the circumstances that I experienced, I found myself in this weird niche space called civic tech, which I had no clue even existed until someone told me, "Oh, you're in civic tech," and I was like, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
that's where I am."
maybe. What does that mean, right?
So
People like to make up words all the time, like the new def tech, defense tech, right? Yeah, I'm a def tech company. And I'm like, what, wait, what? Like, where did you even come up with that acronym? Like, I think it's
yeah.
actually like a TikTok thing. TikTok's making a whole bunch of new government contracting acronyms. Dev
Oh
tech,
my
civ
God.
tech, what was the other one I saw? Was like, I don't know, just all these funny ones. I'm just like, wait, what?
Yeah,
Maybe,
I saw
maybe
an
TikTok's
interesting.
making it cool. I don't know.
Maybe I actually saw an interesting one out of the New Access folks a few days ago, a few days, few weeks, whatever. At some point in since I've been alive, called
Sec,
DevSec
DevOps,
CX,
or CX, yeah.
and I was like, interesting, and interesting because they're likely way ahead of the mass in acknowledging that customer experience coming from the executive order and the PMA and all the other memos coming out of the White House and OMB are putting a ton of focus and onus on customer experience. So they're likely way ahead of the crowd by taking this on and paving a path that no one else has paved. But at first I was like, what are you doing? And then I was like, what are you doing?
Well, it's funny because when Raza sent me, who also has been on my show, Govcon Unfiltered, loved chatting with him. He sent me the link to his event, and I laughed and laughed and laughed. And I said, I want you to record yourself saying this acronym 3 times fast. And you wouldn't believe it, Eduardo. He actually recorded himself saying it 3 times fast and sent it back to me. And it was hysterical. I had to fall off my chair. Like he's just such a fun guy. And I think you're right. I think he's the kind of like
But
ahead of where
he's a
the
visionary.
CX, he's a visionary on the CX space, 100%. And it's kind of what his company's known for too, which is kind of
Yep.
good.
Agreed.
But let's talk about you and
Yeah.
who you are a little bit. So
Sure.
what has been your favorite part of, your journey so far as landing accidentally in CivTech? And, I see you out at a lot of events, and I know you have a great JV partner of a pretty famous company. And so big part of Digital Services Coalition. So what's been your favorite part so far?
I think my favorite part has been just remaining true to myself, remaining true to my values and the things that matter to me and that I want to represent in the world that I live in. When I left the Marine Corps, I went back to working in advertising, then high fashion, and then I got coaxed by a very good friend to go back into federal government by pulling at my heartstrings and telling me that my country needed me, for
Which
which
is
I will
true.
never, forget her, or forgive her actually. But I went back and then when I came back out, I knew that I wanted to do things in a way that like just truly made sense to me. and to who I want to be, and who I see myself being. I thankfully have been privileged enough to been supported by my family, to have gotten a ridiculous amount of opportunities through people that I have met to work in amazing organizations. And so I've never been, again, thankfully, I'm super privileged in a position where I have not had a means to make ends meet, literally ever. And I know that that is not the case for everyone. Starting a company was something that I knew that I wanted to do it in a way that truly resonated with me, because if all that I wanted was a paycheck, I could just take a job almost anywhere and been fine. But I didn't want to do that. Granted, I did not fully understand what it meant to start a company or to own a company or to do what I am doing today. At the time, I think the decision probably would have been different in 2017, but that's been my favorite part. It's just like truly remaining true to who I am, to the things that matter to me, to my values, trying to do the right thing and trying to do things differently. There are so many successful organizations who follow one same playbook, who are doing things in a very clearly laid out and predictable manner. And that's awesome. But that to me seems less than exciting. That is not what wakes me up in the mornings. Also, work is
So,
not what wakes me up in the morning. It is my 3.5-year-old, to be clear. But uh
well, let me ask you this question. You talk a lot
yeah,
about, what matters to you, your vision, which is great. CEO, you need those. Tell us more. Like what does matter to you? Like what is your Eduardo Coforma playbook? When somebody looks at your company and is like, this company sounds interesting. Like what do you want them to know?
good question. I think that what people should know is that we really care about the work that we do. We really care about the partnerships that we take on. We end up spending quite a bit of time literally like looking at how things are named or how they are addressed. We go way out of our way, sometimes to the detriment of just being able to make a decision to choose words that truly embody what we mean. So when we are a prime contractor, those that work with us, we do not call them subcontractors. We call them partners.
Ah, okay.
Um, but it also happens that sometimes when we are working with organizations that we've been working with for several years, they're no longer customers or clients. They are also partners because we are in a journey together, which then starts getting a little bit convoluted. And the information architects on our team and content strategists have quite a bit of a challenge with the fact that in one same sentence, it will be using the same word to mean different things. They're like, just stop, please. Please stop. But that's what people should know. It's like we
Right.
try to do things differently. We live our values, and we want to do things because they matter, because they produce a positive impact.
So would it be right to say that Coforma is more about the impact than the bottom line?
100%.
Okay.
We do
Kind
not
of what I
have.
was hearing.
Yep, we do not have any external investments, and we do not foresee or plan or are on the lookout or are interested or are seeking, or nor is this a unwritten ask for, please email me a pitch. Please, really, don't email me a pitch. We don't need any external funding, thankfully, because of the position that we're in and because of the work that we have been doing to date. And that provides us with a ridiculous amount of power and control to be able to make decisions that matter in a way that truly resonates, and in a way that like truly leads us to do the things that we want to do in a way that just seems real.
Mm-hmm.
Like at the end of the day, there's nothing that is leading us to bring in 10%, bring in 5%, or anything at all.
Right.
There's not.
Right.
Like,
So Eduardo, this is interesting because, as you kind of hinted at before, there's a kind of a playbook to GovCon, and it's like, oh, your margin has to be this, your fringe is this, and you bid this wrap rate, and you're kind of competing, number one, with the same talent pool as everybody else, and number two, with the same playbook as everybody else. So when you have the same services as everybody else, then it's like, what are you actually doing, right? Like, then you really are just a shot in the dark, right? Like, who cares?
completely agree. And that's been something that I've, in the past couple of years, I've started to say that it's like, if you put most of us at the figuratively GovCon community in a room, and we all do the same thing. We all offer engineering services. We all offer design services. We all offer product services, strategy, marketing, management, communications. We all do the exact same thing. Yes, we all do it in a different way or a different approach, but we all do the exact same thing. The only thing that truly differentiates us is how we show up and why we show up in the ways that we do. But beyond that, like, if you were to like mute everyone and just look at the services and the offerings and remove all the jargon, we all do the exact same thing. Like, show me one proposal that deals with anything related to the
Right.
web that doesn't speak to API, microservices,
Yep.
human-centered design, and product management.
Right?
Literally, you would be hard pressed to ever find one, whether
Yeah.
it is a low-code solution or a custom code solution. They will all say and speak to the same thing.
Right. Right. Well, let me ask you this. Tell us a story of, your first couple of years in GovCon as a CEO. What do you wish you would have known back then? Like, what mistakes did you make, kind of not knowing a lot about the industry?
So, having spent time in the Marine Corps, I was taught that there's literally nothing that I cannot do, start and end. There's nothing that I cannot do. And I broke into the space with that at the forefront. And one of the first conversations that I had with the CEO of a very successful digital services firm, who happens to live like a 10-minute walk from my house, over coffee. At this point, the only thing that I had done was literally gone on LegalZoom and registered the company. That's all that I had done. And I had not even submitted to VA to get the company certified as SDVOSB, Services Over a Non-Small Business, nor anything else. I didn't even have a capability statement. I think that the website wasn't even live
Were
at
you
this
in
point.
SAM, though? Were you in SAM?
No, I didn't even
Oh.
know that I needed to be in SAM at that point.
Okay.
And what I told them, as we're like having coffee, I was like, so I'm gonna go after T4 and G because I am SDVOSB. This is all that I do. This is like my background. I've done it across all these organizations. I think that I can put a solid team together. And yeah, I think that T4 and G is like, we're gonna pursue it. I just like read about it like on the internet, like maybe like a week or two ago. And he laughed and he's like, have you talked to anyone? I was like, yeah. He's like, so that solicitation is landing in about a month or 2 months. I was like, okay. He's like, so he asked me all the questions like, have you like gotten certified as DVUSB? Do you have any past performance? And basically everything that he asked, I was like, it was either no or like, wait, can you say that again so I can write it down? That's something that I need to do. And I walked away from that meeting, one, feeling that I was absolutely delusional, which I was, and continue to be, but also humbled, which was another lesson learned in the Marine Corps, that is like, there are better people than you that have come before you. And once you leave, there will be better people than you that will come after you. So that served to me as a reminder that it's like, I'm just one more organization coming into this space.
Right.
There have been more successful organizations with the same qualifications as me that have come through. And once I'm out, however I may be out, there will be even more of them that will come after me. So my focus needed to be on the here and now, and on the me and what I needed and what my organization needed beyond it all. And that to me was one of like the most like memorable stories,
Mhm.
because that coffee, which was with Greg Gershman of Ad Hoc, basically like changed everything for what is now Conform. It
Nice.
was
What a great
it was
story. And
off
he's
of
a
that.
great guy. He's actually kind of famous too. It's funny, GovCon has its own like celebrities. Nobody would know who these people are, except in GovCon. You're like, oh my God. All right. So I love that story. Thank you for sharing. And it's
Of
funny
course.
that, T4NG is such a heavy lift. And I felt like some companies felt the same way about Soup 6, right? I was telling companies 2 years ago, 3 years ago, it needs to be in your must-win pipeline. They're going to change the acquisition strategy and add services. And nobody believed me, not one person, until Joanne stood up and told everybody. And I was like, I told you that, and so you really have to be looking 3 years out, especially for the big GWAC Mac IDIQ landscape, right?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Because if you do not have some sort of like financial strategy with the injection of money from some other organization, like sizing out basically means putting yourself in the market.
Yeah, pretty much. And I think people don't realize that. People think, oh, you can graduate from your 8A and live in mid-market forever. I mean, can you do it? Maybe, but it is very hard.
Yeah, I mean, I'm always in awe of all of these organizations that have been in the space for 20, 25, 30 years, still small businesses.
Yeah.
And then I look at revenue targets against the two organizations, and I'm like, what is happening here?
Yeah.
And it's a different strategy, different approach. Their focus has been longevity and consistency. My focus has been impact and trying to actually help organizations deliver better services and products to make people's lives better when they interact with those organizations. And obviously that leads to just different intakes when it comes to revenue, but it's ridiculously impressive to see a lot of them still small businesses 20 years in. I'm like, oh wow. I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, they're not getting there. That's small.
Yeah. I cannot wait to have Ashley Chen on the show, actually from ActionNet. Known her for years and years and years, and she's so hype. Oh my God. And she's still as hyped today as she was 20 years ago about
That's
it.
amazing.
She has another amazing story.
Federal proposals, your voice, less time, exceptional results. Voltron gives you the power of custom language models to reduce proposal development costs by 54% and start to finish submission time by 63%. Voltron is the only AI platform that synthesizes the valuable business development and capture information you obtain to write high-quality compliant proposal content specific to your company in each solicitation. Stop throwing it over the fence. Schedule a demo today at vultron.ai.
Yeah, no, the industry is pretty dynamic, right? Because you could do something different every single day and still move closer to your goals, right?
Yep.
Whatever those are, especially as the CEO. But let me ask you this question, and I know we're gonna get down a road talking about stuff, but what are your vibes on AI? Like you literally cannot have a conversation or attend an event or turn around or use a tool or anything else without AI popping up. So, but when it comes specifically to CivTech or DevTech or whatever people are calling it, do you think AI is like the answer, or do you think it's the question, or do you think it's the problem?
Um, I've started taking the stance that if you are unable to talk to me about Microsoft Bob, then we cannot have a true conversation about AI. Because Microsoft Bob was one of the first like interactive, immersive experiences in, I think it was like Windows 3.1 to 95.
Are you talking about
Uh,
that paperclip thing?
oh no, I am talking about the little bouncy ball.
Oh, the bouncy ball.
Yeah,
Okay, okay.
and that was merely like you interacting with a set of rules and instructions that were already written in a program, and that is exactly what artificial intelligence is. Uh, yes, I am making a huge generalization and simplification, and it's because that oftentimes is what artificial intelligence is in the space in which we are working. It is a simplification of rote tasks and activities that people do. AI is not the killer of jobs. AI is not what is going to enable us to live better lives. AI is not what is going to help anyone be able to get off of the streets to find shelter. AI is not what's going to help anyone be able to get a meal. AI is nothing other than a technology that has been around for a long time, now being rebranded, now being sold because you have companies backed by ridiculous amounts of dollars from venture capitalists, from private equity organizations that are pushing this new avenue of generating wealth, of generating capital. Is there a space for this technology to help improve services, offerings, tools, products? Absolutely. As is the space for writing any kind of code by anyone or creating any kind of tool by anyone. But the way in which many organizations speak to I find to be quite disingenuous. The way in which many leaders in our space speak to AI is here and you either adapt or you're going to fail, you are going to die.
Yeah.
I find it to be troubling at best. There's this belief that we cannot do anything about it. It is here to stay. And yet, the most basic question when it comes to AI, which most often than not, when people are speaking about AI, they're talking about LLMs or large language models, is the training piece.
Mhm.
Without access to the public domain, and in many cases, to items not in the public domain, there are a
Mhm.
ton of court cases currently ongoing. And LLM AI is absolutely nothing.
Right.
Literally, it is absolutely nothing. So, how about we talk about people's rights, right? How about we talk about how organizations that have access to ridiculous amounts of money are basically taking information that doesn't belong to them and in some way, shape, or form using them to create another product. And then the pushback or their response is like, well, you either one have to prove it and we're not going to give you anything without you taking us to court, or two, well, why was it available in the first place?
Right. Yeah, I think that gets into a whole other like bigger conversation about democratization of data and actually the responsibility of the individual to be in charge of their own data, which I feel like is a whole thing in and of itself. Okay.
Absolutely. Ethics is like absolutely critical. A pretty interesting book if you want to get into like AI is AI Superpowers. Uh
That book's in my
by
wish list. It's in my
by
TBR read
by
pile.
Kai-Fu Lee. And it basically he just speaks to like what is going to be impacted by AI, but mostly just like lays it out in very clear and easy to understand terms. And I think it's a just like a solid foundational book.
Thank you for the book recommendation. I like that.
Of course.
I'm gonna take a left turn on you. One
Yep.
question before we get into the final two questions. This is the
Let's do
last
it.
question before we get into the two questions I ask everybody. And this is something near and dear to my own heart because all my BD capture experience, while I have worked with large businesses, especially with mentor, protege, mentor, have been supporting 8A small businesses like Coforma. So, I've seen a lot of different variations of that. But what is your personal thought on BD capture and the role of the CEO?
So when it comes to small businesses, I believe that the role of the CEO is critical to the business development space. I particularly do not use the term capture. It can oftentimes just have negative connotation because if you're capturing something, then there's someone defending it. And instead, I speak to,
Interesting point of view. Hold on, don't just gloss over that. That's huge. So the word capture has negative connotation because is there somebody defending it? Oh, wow. So
and these are not just my words. These are words that have been echoed, likely way before me, by VA CTO Charles Worthington and many others. And, it resonates as true to me because the act of capturing is
right.
of bringing something in and basically like holding it and fully controlling it. And the way that I look at developing relationships or developing opportunities and working with my team to go from a midget of a conversation into an idea, getting enough data to turn that idea and back it by insights, and then present a potential option for doing a thing is a collaborative effort. And many times, and this is how we work, even though most of our work is as prime work, we do very little by ourselves. Almost every single engagement, we bring other organizations with us, whether it is because they have unique capabilities that will enable us to achieve specific outcomes, or because they have just started in the space, or because I believe in the leadership, I believe in the team, I believe in what they are doing, and we want to give them the opportunity to grow. And we do not have any requirements from a PE or BC standpoint. So our bottom line is controlled by us. We can make whatever change and whatever decision we want in order to help everyone basically grow and deliver better services across the board. So when I look at it, it's very much about just like creating the ecosystem which enables us to all show up, to all do our best. And just a kind of like a quick background on this, like when I registered the company, as and partners. Well, the DBA was and partners. The official name was partners because an ampersand couldn't be entered, so on and so forth, yada yada yada. And the whole goal of it was that no one was ever going to say our name first, because very quickly you were going to get into the whole skit of who's on first. Because people would
Right.
say, and partners did this, and people would say, and partners and who?
Yeah.
And that, even though it was super funny at the time, got very old very quick, which is why we then changed our name to Coforma. But it still speaks back to our original intent, which is we work together. So Coforma is the joining of two Latin roots, co and forma. Co, which is with, and forma, which is shape. So it's giving shape to things together. So that's how I look at business development, especially from the standpoint of not using capture and instead of using operations, but also the role of the CEO in a small business, which is a highly collaborative one. Because as a small business, people come to the organization, at least for a big part of the initial years, in some way, shape, or form because they know someone. It
Right.
may be me, it may be someone that works here, it may be someone in some sort of leadership position. That's why they come to the organization. They don't come to the organization because, oh, you've been around for 20 years.
Right.
Like we have been registered as a business for less time than most organizations have basically been on a one single contract. So that's kind of like my take on it, is a highly collaborative, very engaged, very present. It's why I'm often at events, why I try to make myself as available as possible, and why I try to create the ecosystem that is not only going to enable us to show up and to win, but also allow others the opportunity to also show up and win.
I love it. Perfect. Okay, we're moving into the last two questions.
Okay.
If somebody was watching you, inspired by your journey, which I'm sure there's a lot out there of folks that are, what would be two pieces of advice you'd give somebody?
One, if you buy a book, actually read it. Don't just gloss over it. I have like so many books that is like absolutely wild. What I mean by that is like I am consistently in this context shifting world.
Right.
I will be speaking to my background, history, why I do what I do, so on and so forth. And then next up, I am speaking to my team about our strategic plan, followed by a meeting with a customer, followed by an interview. And that makes it almost impossible to actually accomplish one task. And because I'm capturing information at almost every single stage, sometimes that information comes in the form of book recommendations or ideas. And there are nuggets of information that are shared that I'm like, oh, that's why I'm buying this book. And I then forget the most important piece, which is make the time to actually follow through. So if I buy the book, make the time to actually read through it.
I love that. Okay, that was one. What's number two?
Number two, stay humble.
Yeah.
There are a ridiculous amount of companies that have come before us, before many others that
Yeah.
are and have been incredibly successful, led by some really, really impressive human beings. Once we are out of this space, and we are
Right.
seeing it already, there will come other companies led by incredibly amazing human beings doing some really important work. And you have to focus on your own path. You have to focus on the things that matter to you, the things that matter to your organization, to make the change and affect the change that you want to see happen in the world, rather than comparing yourself to others. There are people that will cut corners. There are people that will do things that are unethical. And you need to make a decision every single day to live your own life, to fight your own battle, to show up in the way that actually is true to you and true to your organization. Because at the end of the day, that's who people come to. They come to you.
Well, thank you for inviting me to your TED Talk. I really liked it. Okay, last question.
Yes.
I like to make you laugh. Let's see how. What is your superpower and how did you know when you found it?
My superpower is my ability to backtrack and check myself very, very quickly. This is also this is an extension of the lesson of being humble from the Marine Corps, where I will be literally in the span of our conversation talking about, hey, we're going to be doing this and we're going to be doing it this way, and this is why, and we'll go through this whole path. And then someone will say, hey, but what about this? And I'll be like, I had not considered that. Can you say more about that? And they'll say, and I'm like, okay, hey, scratch everything that I just said. Let's go ahead and go with your idea, with your direction, your suggestion. Can you take it on? And that's been something that I credit the executive coaches that I've worked with over the past several years for helping me develop that capability, because it is not something that that is like just natural. It is not my first point of decision making at all, but it is something that that has evolved as a superpower of mine, to just like be able to stop myself and be like, what you just said is the right thing. So let's do that. It doesn't matter that I said something different. We should be following what you said. So let's go ahead and do that.
I love it. I love it. Well, I want anybody listening to this to know that I hope that they're inspired by your journey and your commitment to approaching things differently, doing things differently, and really caring about the impact of what you do. And I have to say thank you for that, because this is there's pretty much a money-driven industry, as you know, like bottom line, all this stuff. And I really find it refreshing to find companies that care enough about what they do to turn down work, to say we're not the right company for this. But here are other companies that would do it, but we want to be behind what we do, and this doesn't fit us, And I know that Coforma is like that.
We are, and what's been really cool that the more that I speak it, the more that I say so out loud, the more that I find other companies that are doing exactly the same thing. And oftentimes, like people say like, oh my God, it is so lonely at the top. And it is, but the truth is that you're not alone. All you have to do is like open your eyes, look around, and be humble enough to ask for help, to ask someone to talk to you. And many people will make the time, and you will learn and you will see just some amazing organizations and some amazing people doing the work that truly matters, just as you are. All you have to
Awesome.
do is give them a chance.
Definitely. Well, catch us next time on Govcom Unfiltered. And for today, thank you, Eduardo.
Thank you so much, Alexa. I am so honored to have been here and to have had the opportunity to share with you.
As we draw the curtain on today's chapter of Govcom Unfiltered, I want to thank you for joining us on this remarkable journey through the intricate world of federal contracting. I'm Alexa Choi, and it's been an honor to navigate these stories of courage, innovation, and resilience with you. Until we meet again, keep pushing boundaries, exploring new horizons, and making your mark in the government contracting universe. Farewell for now, but not forever. Stay tuned for more adventures that await in the next episode of Govcom Unfiltered. Safe travels on your path to greatness, and remember, we are all on this journey together.